who could you potentially give up some of the economics, give up some of the control to not lose the deal, to not lose your earnest money? You probably have some partners that maybe you've worked with in the past. Maybe you've got some potential partners that you've gotten close on doing a couple of deals. Those are the highest in order of priorities. But then, of course, there's the next tier. And what do I mean by that? It means your competitors. How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to talk about the 911 capital raising playbook. What to do if you need to raise money on short notice, especially if you're starting from zero. I'm going to jump right in. Now, number one, I get this question all the time because people always come up short on raises, especially when the economy is struggling or the capital markets are changing or interest rates are rising. But as I've said before, if you're struggling to raise money, it means you're probably doing the best deals you'll do in the cycle. So don't view it as a failure. Don't view it as a red flag. Don't view it as a reason you should quit. This is the nature of the business. Now, you guys know my slogan, never scramble for capital again. It's aspirational, meaning that if you're the kind of entrepreneur that wants to continue to do bigger and better deals, you're constantly pushing the limits of how much money you can raise. I think that's a great indicator that you're heading in the right direction. So just because it says never scramble for capital again, don't get it twisted. I find myself struggling to raise money here and there because I'm constantly trying to raise more and more capital as I grow my business, regardless of the economic climate. Having said all that, here's the playbook. If you find yourself short on a raise, number one step is to understand that neediness kills deals. So all the tactical stuff I'm about to give you, just keep in mind, it's through the lens of neediness kills deals. And the only way to ensure you don't get a deal fully subscribed is to come into every conversation or every communication needy. Okay, now through that lens, let's get it. I have found that texting is wildly underutilized. So if you find yourself short on a deal, it's time to start texting. What this means in order of priority: number one, previous investors. Number two, current investors in the deal. Then we get into all the remaining network. So anyone that you think is financially capable is worth a text. And rather than text them the specifics of the deal, I try to text them something very short that comes off as organic and tries to get them to reply. So maybe I would say something simple like, hey, I've got something under contract that's a 2x equity multiple over 5 years. Interested in learning more? Reply back, interested. Or something even to remove the risk of them saying no, I would say something like, hey, I don't have anything under contract right now, but would you be interested in staying in the loop when I do? Now, I know if you're short on a raise, clearly you have something under contract, but that's the easiest way to get them to respond back yes. And of course, you can escalate that to booking a call. And then of course you can transition from, hey, you don't have something under contract to, well, we actually have something right here that just, maybe we have a couple $100,000 left. And I've talked before about that. Second strategy after texting is of course emails. And you can do these things at the same time. Emailing your previous investors, emailing current investors, meaning someone that's already committed to invest in the deal. You can commit and say, by the way, someone just bounced out. You're currently in for 50K, but you've already done the due diligence. Are you interested in upping your amount, or do you want me to go out to get other investors in the deal? It's a no-brainer strategy. It's the easiest way to get an extra 50 or 100K from one particular investor. And then of course, emailing all the remaining network that you have access to. Then we transition to phone calls, okay? So you're texting, you're emailing, the goal is to prompt them to get on a call. So the goal is to get them to respond so that you can get on a call with them. Now in the past, I had a lot of content about how you can avoid doing calls with investors if you do the right marketing. When it's difficult to raise money, your mentality shifts completely to how can I get in one-on-one conversations with as many people as possible, because I want to connect with them. I want to address the concerns that they actually have. I want to hear them so I can connect with them and directly address those concerns, versus doing something like a webinar where you can try to broadly address all the concerns all the investors might have, but it just hits way harder if it's one-to-one. And if you're short on a raise, your mentality should go from doing all these hyper scalable activities to doing as many scrappy activities as you can, because every dollar matters. It's not the calendar that's the limiting factor. It's the fact that you need to raise money in as short a time as possible. Now, once you go through this process of texting and emailing, prompting people to book a call, the next level of urgency and intensity of calls is to start calling those people, even if they didn't respond. This includes previous investors, current investors, the rest of the network that you think might be financially able to invest. Now we're going to start to get into some strategies that you wouldn't want to implement during every raise. And you're probably hearing me think this right now. And you're thinking, well, I don't want to call my current investors. It's going to come it's going to scare them. Well, listen, if you put $500,000 down and that money's about to go hard or is already hard and you're going to lose $500,000, trust me, you're going to be willing to make some phone calls, right? So what's the strategy for this? Not just calling them once, but we call in the sales kind of double call, text, kind of cadence. Meaning, have you ever gotten a call from someone and you look down, you see who it is and you ignore it? Well, in the world of sales, it's very common to call someone, have them ignore it, and call them again. That will get you an extra 30 or 40% of people to answer that call. And that even is the truth, by the way, if it's an unknown number, right? You call them, they don't answer, they call them right back. It'll help dramatically. Then you can send a text message. And there's two schools of thought with this. One would be do the double call and don't text them, because the moment you text them, they know who it is, they know what you're offering or asking for, and they try to ignore you. The other strategy, maybe a slightly more aggressive strategy, is to, rather than double call them and text them immediately, letting them know who you are, is to double call them, don't tell them who you are, don't close the loop, don't text them anything, wait 4 hours and do the same thing again. On the second one, you text them, right? It's a more intense version of the first one. And I'm trying to give you all the strategies because I've been there, I've implemented all of these and the ones I'm about to talk about as well. So once you've gone through emailing, once you've gone through text messaging, once you've gone through double call text or double call 4-hour wait, double call text, I know this stuff, it gets crazy. The next step is to start looking for partners. If you're still short on the raise, it's time to start emptying the clip. And what that means is, who do you know that's a potential partner that could come take down a big percentage of this raise? At this point, you've pretty much exhausted your normal network of investors. Who could you potentially give up some of the economics, give up some of the control to not lose the deal, to not lose your earnest money? Now, you probably have some partners that maybe you've worked with in the past. Maybe you've got some potential partners that you've gotten close on doing a couple of deals. Those are the highest in order of priorities. But then, of course, there's the next tier. And what do I mean by that? It means your competitors. That's right. Hitting up your competitors to let them know, hey, listen, I've got a deal. It's under contract. Maybe I've got some earnest or hard money involved, but we're short on this raise. And the reason you and I know each other is because you've bought in a lot of deals that are just like this deal that I have under contract. So I want to know, are you interested in potentially partnering with me on this deal? Now, this is kind of cringy. It's not fun to say, and it's not really something you want getting out in the marketplace. But if you're under the gun, that's a strategy that you can implement. And by the way, if you don't know who your competitors are, of course, you should know. But the easiest way to find that out is to call the broker that sent you the deal and ask them who else bid on the deal. Because now you've got a group of competitors that not only is interested in the property, they are also not just generally interested in it, they actually know the property. They put an offer on the property. They're probably sad that they didn't get the property. So it'd probably be a welcome phone call to get in this particular situation. And that to me is kind of the final piece of all of this, right? It's going from texting to calling to double calling, basically people that haven't responded, to reaching out to competitors that you've worked with, partners that you've worked with, to reaching out to competitors that maybe you wouldn't work with. And then of course, the next stage is getting extensions to give yourself a little bit more time. That to me is a pretty good playbook. Now, if you go into a raise, you should know all these tools might have to be used during every single raise. So just think about it in your mind, at what point of the raise would you have to implement this? And so as you start to continue your career as a capital raiser, you'll get a sense of where you are in your raise during the capital raise. Meaning that before the raise, you might be able to get some soft commitments, you get some indications of interest. The day you actually launch the deal, you've signed a PSA, you're formally marketing the deal. You should know what percentage of the total raise you're going to raise during the first 3 days. So from there, it could be the case that you start to go to DEF CON 3 or 4 or 5 early so that you can start building enough momentum by the time you close. Alternatively, what some people do is that they go into these raises without knowing all these tools, and they don't really think about when they should start sounding the alarm to doing things like reaching out to the broker and asking who else bid on the property to find some potential partners for the deal. So that's kind of the playbook. That's the 911 playbook. Hopefully you subscribe all your deals instantly, but for those that are coming up short here and there, that's my best guidance. Hope that helps.